Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for attending this program. G20, its meaning for India, what we hope to achieve as a country, and what we are doing and what we are learning as a process. More importantly, if we talk specifically, ekdam specific agar hum baat kare, how do you rethink fuel? And I don't think there'll be a better person to answer questions along these lines than the Union Minister for Petroleum and Natural Gas and Minister for Urban Affairs, Ambassador Hardeep Singh Puri. And I insist on calling you Ambassador first. Thank you very much, Ambassador Puri.
Thank you very much for having me here today. And I have no difficulty in you calling me an ambassador or whatever you like. Certainly, I've been an ambassador longer than I've been a minister. Thank you. You started with the G20 and then you fast forwarded to rethinking fuel. So I'll spend a minute or two or three, if you permit,
Sure.
to talk about G20, and then I will come to, fossil fuel transition, rethinking fuel. First and foremost, I think in every discussion, the context is most important. And the G20 presidency of India came at a time when the world was facing multiple crises. The G20 itself was born in a moment of crisis. In 2008, when there was a world financial and economic crisis, the global institutions did not know how to deal with that crisis. So they elevated the G20, which was a grouping at the level of finance ministers, and made it into a summit-level group. And the G20 summit in London 2010 helped address that, because the IMF, World Bank, the GATT or WTO could not address it. But the G20 presidency of India is taking place when the world is facing three crises. Beech mein, there wasn't that kind of turbulence. You've got three crises: fuel, food, and fertilizer. But I think the interesting thing is, India, during this period, not only now of course, we are on the moon and over the moon, but India's figures generally are looking very, very impressive. And if you give me time later, I'd like to reel off what was the situation in 2014 and what is the situation now, 9 years later, and that adds to an overall spirit of elation.
Mm-hmm. How about now? We can begin now. You can tell us.
Well, I can tell you, I'll be very happy. I've been doing some research in the morning before I came here. So there are things that you know and there are things which you don't know. Foreign direct investment, and FDI will take place when the foreign direct investor, who's a private entity, feels that there is economic opportunity. You're looking at an average of 22 billion. Today, you're looking at an average of 46 billion per annum. Mutual fund investment, 2013 was 100 billion. Today, it's 500 billion. The electrification of railways, 2013 was 4,100 kilometers. Today, it's 28,100 kilometers. The corporate tax rate then was 33.9%. Now it's down to 22%. Retail or RBI, CPI inflation, 10% down in last year, not even this year, down to 4.7%. Direct benefit transfer, money that you transfer to the beneficiaries of all our schemes. It's very interesting. From 0.89 billion, that's less than 1 billion, now it's 32 billion. Then I give you national highways. 2014 में 25,700 किलोमीटर थी, आज 53,700 किलोमीटर. एयरपोर्ट 74 थे, आज 178 है, 148. Digital transactions as a percentage of GDP. Now this I find most impressive. 2016 में 4.4%. Today 76.1%. Number of IITs which we had 2014 में 16 थी, 2023 में 23 है. Number of IIMs 2014 में 13 थी, आज 20 है. Look, I can go on and on.
Yeah.
But the feel-good factor in India, where India has traveled, and that is reflected in turn in the fact that you've moved from being the 10th largest economy to the 5th largest economy. जब मैं कुछ वर्ष पहले कहता था that we are going to be a $5 trillion economy. Some of my friends, I don't know how to describe them. Their friendship, I think, has never been in doubt. Their liberal wonkiness was in doubt. ये सर कभी $5 trillion इतने challenges है, right? Challenges तो हैं, और challenges तो आज भी हैं. But today, when you talk in terms of being a let's say a $10 trillion economy by 2030, no one has any doubt. और आप आगे बढ़ते. By the way, ये जो मैंने आपको रील आउट स्टैटिस्टिक्स किए थे, ये रोल आउट किए, मेरे नहीं है, ये मॉर्गन स्टैनली के हैं. आज सुबह मैंने एक रिपोर्ट पढ़ी, and the preambular was, and I'll conclude with that, and forgive me, I'm not trying to say this, not my view, Morgan Stanley's views, India's future looks like China's past. I think that sums up that growth area, the growth potential that India demonstrated in the last 9 years and the years ahead. And he's recalling China's past. I'm not saying China will not have a great future. I don't know. I don't study the Chinese economy in that detail. But there are fault lines there. Some sectors of that economy are under strain. The real estate sector to begin with, about which I know a little. But now I want to fast forward to fuel.
And before Ambassador Puri, you answer questions on fuel. This point that you made on $5 trillion economy, some of your friends, since you mentioned them, उनका ये भी कहना था कि ये तो अपने आप ही हो रहा था. The whole theory of compounding. तो आपने ऐसा क्या किया?
आप उनसे ये सवाल पूछिए, अगर अपने आप ही हो रहा था, आपने क्रेडिट क्यों नहीं ले लिया? जब हम कह रहे थे, जो मैं बात कर रहा हूँ 2017-18 के बाद, जब मैं मंत्रिमंडल में आया, तो मैं ऐसी बातें करनी शुरू की थी, ये तो हो ही नहीं सकता, असंभव है. अगर अपने आप हो रहा था, you should say हमने काम किया उसके कारण हो रहा है. But you know, I mean, frankly, I think every one of us, when we get up in the morning, we can decide how much of a fool we want to make of ourselves that day. You know, it's in a democracy like India, where there is freedom of speech, freedom of action, you can get up and make an outlandish statement. If you start cataloging what they've been saying, भाग जाते हैं. But you know, this is a shoot and scoot politics. शुरू से कोई बेवकूफ़ी की बात करते हैं, and then when they say, यार ये तो गलत हो गया, फिर change the subject. But if you want me to come to fuel.
Yeah, from fool, let's come to fuel.
Good one. देखिए, ऐसा है, मैं आपके सामने एक proposition रखता हूँ, और वो ये है कि आप मान लीजिए कि आपके पास बहुत बड़ा न्यूक्लियर आर्सेनल है. उसका न्यूक्लियर आर्सेनल बाय इटसेल्फ डज नॉट translate itself into political or economic or global standing. Because it is entirely conceivable that you can have a large nuclear arsenal and yet you can have a large country disintegrate. Point one. Point two, there are some things which are clear indicators or clear providers of how an economy is going. And I submit to you, fuel consumption is one such indicator. Why am I saying this? India's fuel consumption today, on an average, is 3 times the global average. How do I say that? If there may be a pandemic, there may be slowdown, there's drop in demand, but if global growth, demand grows by 1%, India's grows 3%. Fuel consumption is a very good indicator of the state of your economy. That's the first position. The second one, when you talk about transition or rethinking fuel,
yes.
What are you rethinking? You're not rethinking energy. You are rethinking clean energy. In other words, agar aapki dependence on fossil fuel was 100%, how much is it today? All right, I give you a starting point, since we are talking about my erstwhile, no, they are still my friends. Their political tags are a little in doubt. 2014 तक, और मैं आपको अपना एक्सपीरियंस बताता हूँ, जब मैं 2002 की बात है, 3 की बात है, जब मैं ब्राज़ील में 6 की बात है, 2006 में जब मैं ब्राज़ील गया एज इंडियाज एम्बेसडर, हमने बड़ी कोशिश की कि हमारी उनके साथ कोलैबोरेशन बायोफ्यूल्स में हो. तो उस समय भी मेरा ये मेरी पोजीशन थी और आज भी है कि आप किसी चीज को में सफलता अगर लाना चाहते हैं तो पहले आप जो आपकी नीति है, पॉलिसी है, उसको सही तरीके से लाइए. सो व्हेन मिस्टर पवार वाज द आई थिंक एग्रीकल्चर मिनिस्टर, and he has a very firm grounding in the sugar politics and so on. उस समय एक निर्णय लिया गया कि हमारी 10 स्टेट्स और यूनियन टेरिटरीज में हम 5% बायोफ्यूल्स ब्लेंडिंग करेंगे और पूरा दम लगा लिया. जब हम 2014 तक पहुंचे, so I think the amount of biofuels we were blending was what, 1.5% or little less or little more. So what went wrong in those years? I'm talking about 2006 to 2014. And what went right after 2014 onwards? Well, I'll fast forward. We were around 1.5% in 2014. Today we are blending, I think, 12% or thereabouts.
Yeah, 11.7% to be precise.
11.7% is what we are doing now. We have a 12% target, I think, till the end of the year. So we are on that 12% thing. But there's another target, and that target is that we wanted to do 20% blending by 2030. And the Honorable Prime Minister has brought that forward to 2025. अच्छा, मैं आपको एक फिगर देता हूं. जब हमने 10% ब्लेंडिंग की, और ये 10% ब्लेंडिंग का हमारा टारगेट था नवंबर 2022 तक, और हमने 5 महीने टारगेट डेट से पहले कर ली. जब हमने 10% ब्लेंडिंग की तो हमारी सेविंग ऑन दी इंपोर्ट बिल वाज 41,000 करोड़, और 41,000 करोड़ जो हमने बचाया, हमने 42,000 करोड़ अपने फार्मर्स को दिया. अगर हम 20% ब्लेंडिंग करते हैं, which is around the corner. So what will be the saving on this thing? You can calculate based on then prevailing international price. But that's not my point. It's not the amount of money you're saving. Please look at the boost that agriculture receives as a result of biofuel. So you're rethinking fuel, you're also providing a boost to your agriculture. And now I want to go forward, because I'm sure you don't want to take all the time on fuels, but
before we move beyond fuels, एक सवाल, ये जो blending की आप बात कर रहे हैं उसी से जुड़ी हुई है. For a lay person who's driving his car, उसका पहले आपने बताया 1.53% ब्लेंडिंग थी, मतलब पेट्रोल में इतना इथेनॉल, वो बढ़ा करके 11.7% कर दिया. नाउ यू हैव सेट अ टारगेट ऑफ 20. बाय 2025 दिस विल आल्सो हैपन. एक कंसर्न ये आता है कि मेरी गाड़ी में पेट्रोल की जगह ये मिक्स क्या चीज आ रही है, एंड इज इट सेफ?
देखिए,
so while you save money, that's a different thing, but is it, how do you convince people that this is right?
No, I don't need to convince people. The convincing is taking place on its own. Technical studies had shown कि आपकी अगर बायोफ्यूल ब्लेंडिंग 20% होती है तो आपको गाड़ी के इंजन में कोई पार्ट्स में कोई बदलाव करने की ज़रूरत नहीं है, उसमें कोई कोरोजन ज़्यादा नहीं होगी, कुछ ऐसा नहीं. दिस वॉज द कन्वेंशनल थिंकिंग, एंड आई मेक दिस सबमिशन टू यू. उस थिंकिंग के कारण हमारा माइंड सेट भी वो 20% पे रुक गया. जब मैं नया पेट्रोलियम और नेचुरल गैस विभाग से जुड़ा, बात कर रहा हूँ मैं जुलाई 2021 में, तो मुझसे एक बहुत सीनियर हमारे कॉलीग, उनसे पूछा ये आप 20% पे क्यों रुके हुए हैं? तो मैंने एक्सप्लेनेशन ये दिया कि ये टेक्निकली ऑटोमोबाइल एसोसिएशन, क्या नाम है, SIAM, सोसाइटी ऑफ इंडियन ऑटोमोबाइल मैन्युफैक्चरर्स, दे आर यूज्ड टू engines which are doing very well. They're all, God bless them, making enough money. तो उनसे बात हुई तो उन्होंने कहा कि अच्छा 20% तक तो चल जाएगा पर उसके आगे नहीं. तो मैंने उनसे कहा, जब मैं ब्राज़ील में पोस्टेड था, मैं राजदूत था ब्राज़ील में, तो उस समय ब्राज़ील में तो आप पेट्रोल पंप में जाके और डिपेंडिंग ऑन द प्राइस ऑफ पेट्रोल एंड एथेनॉल इन अ डे और ऑन बोर्ड यू कैन टेक अ डिसीजन. अगर मान लीजिए पेट्रोल का दाम नीचे, आप तय करिए कि आप 100% पेट्रोल डलवा लेते हैं. अगर उसका एथेनॉल का दाम बहुत कम है तो आप 100% एथेनॉल डलवा लेती है. बट दोज कार्स आर मैन्युफैक्चर्ड टू दोज स्पेसिफिकेशन. हमने जब इस पे एक्सपेरिमेंट किया तो हमें बिल्कुल क्लियर था कि 20% तक कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है। तो हमने शायद अप्रैल इस साल, इफ आई मेमोरी सर्व्स मी राइट, वी स्टार्टेड introducing what is called E20, or E20 is 20% blended fuel. And if memory serves me right, the latest figure I saw is कि 2000 pumps हैं जहाँ पे E20 बिक रहा है। अच्छा, आप ये देखिए कि इसमें मैंने I gave you the example of my senior colleague who questioned me. मैंने कहा कि इसका रीजन ये था, पर मेरी चिंता कुछ और है। मेरी चिंता ये थी उस समय कि हम मान लीजिए 20% से ज्यादा टारगेट रख देते हैं. Do we have the resilience in the system to ensure that the amount of ethanol required, and we've diversified the feed, हम अभी मक्का से भी बनवाते हैं, हम from sugar, from bamboo second generation, we are also making it from agricultural waste, from parali. Will we be able to get that? Today I can tell you with confidence that two things have happened. एक तो मैंने I took a small step, but I think it had its impact. I invited my Brazilian counterpart, और मैंने उनको रिक्वेस्ट किया कि आप अपनी जो ऑटोमोबाइल मैन्युफैक्चरर्स हैं उनकी एक डेलीगेशन साथ में लाना. और ऑटोमोबाइल जो मैन्युफैक्चरर्स हैं ब्राज़ील में, कंपनीज तो वही हैं, वही जर्मन कंपनीज हैं, वही जापानी कंपनी है. तो मेरे बड़ी खुशी हुई, बिकॉज जब वो यहाँ आए, अगर भाई ब्राज़ील में चल सकती है 20% से ज़्यादा वाली एथेनॉल वाली गाड़ी, तो यहाँ क्यों नहीं चल सकती? मैन्युफैक्चरर तो वही है. इट्स नॉट एज इफ इट्स अ डिफरेंट मैन्युफैक्चरर. एंड आई एम वेरी हैप्पी टू इन्फॉर्म यू that I'm very clear that the kind of cars which are coming in here now are called E85. Matlab, they will be able to take biofuels up to 85%. Oh, wow. So, we have overcome that. Second, we have not stopped at this. We are now looking at the green hydrogen. First, let me go to compressed biogas, natural gas. Sure. I'm very happy when we were walking in, whoever was your master of ceremonies was describing me as the Minister of Petroleum and Gas. I said, I like the second part. But no, it's natural gas. There's a difference between natural gas and liquefied petroleum gas. Let me give you what the difference is. Liquefied petroleum gas, which is a pure cooking medium, that is what my OMCs have to sometimes carry on their shoulders when there are torrential rains and deliver. Natural gas is used in automobiles, it's used in the industrial sector, it's used in a variety. Now, liquefied petroleum gas is made from crude oil, the other one comes out. So what are we doing? We are increasing the percentage of gas in our fuel mix from 6% to 15%. We're well on the way. And it's going to cost about an investment of $60 billion. It's taking place. We have just now, if memory serves me right, otherwise my young friend will correct me, we have about 7 liquefying stations. You see, gas is not transported across the sea. You come in liquid form, it comes to the port of arrival, there it is gasified, then it comes through a pipeline. So what have we done on the pipeline? That's very important. 2014 में हमारी टोटल पाइपलाइन जो देश में थी 14,500 किलोमीटर थी. हमारा टारगेट है 33,000 किलोमीटर से ज़्यादा. आज with great pride I tell you, the country has already achieved about 23,000 kilometers. And we will take it from 23,000 kilometers to 33,000 kilometers. So natural gas usage in the economy will go up. When I meet with my explorers, I had a delegation from outside last night. I took a review of this thing. I think gas production in the last 2 years has gone up by 18-20%. So we are trying to increase gas domestic production. Unlike crude oil, where we are dependent on imports to about 80% or so, in the case of natural gas, we are 50% or so. Now,
लेकिन Ambassador Puri, natural gas के लिए, for instance, let's talk about its use as a piped natural gas. It requires infrastructure. मैं अगर चाहूँ भी इस्तेमाल करना, अगर मेरे घर तक पाइप नहीं आ रही है, so that may be a problem. I'll have to depend on LPG. So in terms of that penetration, are we
No, I think
Well on
98%, 98% तो पहुंच गई है, but वो problem क्या है मैं बताता हूँ. Pipeline is covering 98% of the geographical area. Difficulty क्या है? Last mile connectivity की. और मैं किसी की निंदा नहीं करना चाहता हूँ, last of all मेरी अपने constituents की. ऐसा है कि अगर आप लीजिए पाइप यहाँ से ले जाते हैं किसी अर्बन सेंटर में और वहाँ पे एक हाई राइज बिल्डिंग है, वहाँ तो बड़ा आसान है, एक कनेक्शन दो और 300 कंज्यूमर सेटिस्फाई हो गए. पर जहाँ आपकी जनसंख्या जो है वो डिस्पर्स्ड है, जहाँ आपकी पॉपुलेशन जो है वो एक घर है और अगला वाला 4 किलोमीटर दूर है, 6 किलोमीटर दूर है, तो कुछ वो उसमें देरी हो रही है. बट आई थिंक द फिगर्स आर वेरी इंप्रेसिव. I think geographically we've already covered 98% of the area. But I think the more important thing is I need to get the CNG there because it's much cheaper than liquefied petroleum gas. So rest assured, I'm fighting all the time with the fighting, not individuals, fighting the bottlenecks. Because you've laid out a CGD pipeline, you've laid down other things, but things, believe me, the progress is fantastic. By the way, all the connections are going up. जो एलपीजी कनेक्शन थे वो 2014 में शायद 14 करोड़ थे, वो आज 33 करोड़ हैं. और इसमें भी सीएनजी 25 लाख थे, वो 1 करोड़ से ऊपर आ गए हैं. पर माय आइडिया इज टू इंक्रीज द टोटल नंबर ऑफ यूजर्स मच मोर.
Correct.
So you will have a situation where people will have the piped gas coming in, they will also hopefully buy my solar cooker, do other things. So you're rethinking fuel. But we don't stop here. But I think the fuel of the future really is green hydrogen. ये मान के चलिए फॉसिल फ्यूल तो इतना सा जितना भी है, आज से 10, 15, 20 साल के बाद people will just not want to use it. Why? Because alternates will be available. What does green hydrogen require? Green hydrogen requires two things. One is a capacity कि आप green energy जो solar energy है उसको, और हमने ये demonstrate किया, पहले 25 सेंट पर यूनिट थी, आज हम उसको गिरवा के 3 सेंट पर यूनिट पर ले आए हैं. और you need electrolyzers. And today I can tell you that we have within the country every possible conceivable electrolyzer manufacturer in the world is tied up here. Why? Because green hydrogen will succeed where you have domestic demand, you have domestic production and domestic consumption. इसलिए मैं, again, I'm not trying to criticize anyone. Green hydrogen will succeed in India. But if you tell me that you can make green hydrogen in some desert 10,000 kilometers away and then transport it, no. A gas does not lend itself to transportation. I mean, you can, but it's a very costly business. What you can transport and export, which Indian companies are doing now, is green ammonia. So today, green hydrogen, अगले कुछ दिनों में I'm looking at different possibilities. The fuel cell. Now you've got cars which are coming in, very strong rollout of electric vehicles. You've got cars which are coming in which are in hybrid mode, those which are using the fuel cell. One of my companies has been, IOCL has been after me कि एक वो बड़ी हाइड्रोजन बस है, उस पर करना चाहिए. देखिए, इसमें कोई सीक्वेंशियलिटी नहीं होगी कि आज तक हम ये यूज करेंगे, अगले दिन ये सब इकट्ठा चलेगा. बट आई थिंक बाय द टाइम वी रीच 2025 वी विल हैव अ वेरी इंटरेस्टिंग सिचुएशन. 2025 में 20% बायोफ्यूल ब्लेंडिंग होगी. वी वुड हैव शेड आवर इनहिबिशन, एंड आई कॉल इट एन इनहिबिशन, कि बिकॉज if E85 vehicles are slowly beginning to come in, then you will do more biofuel. Plus, now I get pressure from all the feed providers. By feed providers are maize. A lot of people say, sir, aap maize aur khareediye, aap sugar cane aur khareediye. So it's adding to the agricultural momentum. And then when you do this, the CNG increases, number of cars on CNG. When the CNG prices went up, I was very worried. I said, I hope the automobile manufacturers don't hold back. But no, they are quite happy in now rolling out more and more CNG cars. So I think in many ways, India represents, and that is the real India story. Chandrayaan, on the moon, over the moon, complete transformation in terms of the automobile. And we are one of the largest automobile manufacturers in the world. And on top of that, you take this fuel, because rethinking fuel is not just personal automobile. You look at your urban transport system. Our metro system is going to be the second largest in the world after China, overtaking the US. But more than that, the Prime Minister just a approved how many 10,000 electric buses for city operations. So, I mean, when Mr. Kejriwal matures from his Revdi politics into mature politics, he will discuss that instead of cannibalizing the old fleet, it's better to accelerate the electric vehicles coming in based on an agreed, transparent and predictable method of funding and operation.
Ambassador Puri, this point that you made about green hydrogen being the future fuel, किसी भी ईंधन को mass acceptability मिलने के लिए वो readily available होना चाहिए, उसका एक infrastructure तैयार होना चाहिए. इसकी pipeline के बारे में आप क्या बता सकते हैं?
मुझे आपका जो mass acceptability and that benefits to the fathers first, I love that because that's what our operating philosophy is. देखिए, ये समय समय की बात होती है. जब गैस सिलेंडर शुरू हुआ, मैं बात कर रहा हूँ मेरे अपने चाइल्डहुड एंड आई एम वेरी ओल्ड सो इट मस्ट हैव बीन मेनी इयर्स अगो. वो गैस सिलेंडर मिलने में ऐसे लगता था कि बड़े आपने बहुत बड़ी चीज कुछ हासिल कर ली इफ यू मैनेज टू गेट अ गैस सिलेंडर. व्हाई? बिकॉज आवर मदर्स एंड सिस्टर्स वर स्पेयर्ड द toxicity which comes in a kitchen, okay? Because they were using wet wood, they were using coal. I remember when I was a child, my grandmother used to use a koile ki angithi, and you know, used to fuel it by, उसमें हवा में छोटी सी opening होती थी, उसमें कोयला पड़ता था, कभी वो गीला होता था, and the whole small place we lived in was completely you move from there. Today a gas cylinder, बाकी तो छोड़िए, उज्ज्वला स्कीम में हमने 9 करोड़ 60 लाख गैस सिलेंडर दे दिए. सो एक्सेप्टेबिलिटी एंड टू द फारदेस्ट फर्स्ट, आई थिंक उज्ज्वला इज अ स्कीम इट शोड इट. जब महामारी के दौरान जब लॉकडाउन था तो हमने 3 सिलेंडर फ्री दिए टू एवरी बेनिफिशियरी, एंड दिस इज वेयर इट गोज टू द बिलो द पॉवर्टी लाइन इकोनॉमिकली वीकर सेक्शन. इफ 9.6 crore cylinders has to increase to 10 crores if there's demand, we'll do it. So the person who is the most vulnerable is the highest priority. So I come to that. So you start with that. Secondly, insofar as fuel is concerned, please note that today 70% of our traffic on the roads, vehicular traffic, is of two-wheelers and three-wheelers. That's where the common man comes in. And they are using battery operated. But the cost of all these fuels, whether it's ethanol made from different feeds like second generation bamboo, third generation gases, or second generation agricultural waste, the cost keeps coming down, but you have to scale up. I think green hydrogen is precisely one such case. Once the cost of electrolyzers, they're domestically manufactured, because then you need what? You need sunshine, you need water, and you need an electrolyzer, because solar ka cost niche le aaya hai. And the success will come from our refineries. Abhi hamari 11 refineries hai ek company ki. Already 2 they are doing, and I'm coaxing him one of these days, we'll get him to announce it. He's using another 2 for this thing. Once that comes, cost comes down. But I still think you have to go through the progression, through batteries, because 70% is that.
Correct.
Two-wheelers and three-wheeler. Then you go to four-wheelers, then you go from existing fuels to cleaner fuels. All that is happening simultaneously.
So that transitioning, I understand, that point you made. But I'm sure you must be having some sort of a blueprint or an idea or a timeline to which you would successfully tell yourself that, okay, now, I in 2023, in a hall, I had said that this is the fuel of the future. This is what I think. By this time, it will be the fuel.
See, I'll tell you, much of this is about what is called the popular narrative. जब मैं शायद 2021 में माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी जब देश को संबोधित कर रहे थे लाल किले से, तो उन्होंने तब कहा था कि we are going to take up green hydrogen in mission mode. All right? Many smart and enlightened anchors after that asked me, क्या हो रहा है? अभी तक कुछ हुआ नहीं कभी. देखिए, एक कंट्री की ट्रांजिशन करवानी एक पॉइंट से दूसरे पॉइंट तक, you need to have your ecosystems right. So what were the ecosystems that he did? When the PM says something from the Red Fort, take it, he means it, and he'll get it done, especially this PM. उन्होंने 2014 15 अगस्त को जब संबोधित किया था, he said, the greatest tribute we can pay to the father of the nation when we celebrate his 150th birth anniversary is to make India open defecation free. 2014 में कहा था, हो गया 2019 में, एक स्टेट नहीं हुई बट वो भी हो गई अब. तो ये पॉलिसी प्रोनाउंसमेंट्स एंड इकोसिस्टम ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन, 2 steps आई टेल यू. एक कैबिनेट डिसीजन हुआ, आई थिंक इट वाज फैंटास्टिक, कि 17,000 करोड़ शायद हमारी जो PLI स्कीम है, प्रोडक्टिविटी लिंक्ड इंसेंटिव स्कीम, उसमें electrolyzer manufacture was included. And it worked. Now you have, as I said, just about every, I'm not saying they're all drawing from the PLI scheme. They're coming here because they see economic potential and they see the, I'll be very frank, ability to make money. Also, foreign investor, they're not going to come out of philanthropy or altruism. They will come because there's an economic opportunity. Then there was another decision taken whereby specific responsibilities were given. Okay, what can the steel sector do? What can we do? So I think we've got the basics in right. I tend to make statements more on the cautionary side. I have now seen one economic entity has brought in, what, $32 billion of investment from other places. Why are they investing in India? Because they think India is a place where green hydrogen research, manufacture will take place, and ultimately India will be a staging point for the other. You know, the most important question you have to answer is, till when will fossil fuels be a viable, competitive thing? And that's the most important. Because if we go at the current level, you've got 2 competing global trends. One is those who say, fossil fuels ko ekdam khatam karo. Bhai, agar aap fossil fuels ko khatam karna chahte ho, and you want only green energy, then you must make the investment in the green energy. Because there's no point telling a guy who can buy a liter of petrol for, say, 85 rupees in a BJP-ruled state and 108 in a non-BJP ruled state, कि आप ये मत खरीदिए, आप green hydrogen पे खरीदिए, where the corresponding cost is twice. So the 2 processes will take place simultaneously. And my answer to your question is, this will happen sooner than later.
Fantastic. Now, my next question, and we are coming to the close of this session. You see, whatever fuel we use, there is a concern of pollution and its impact on climate change, right? That is always a driving force when, I'm sure you must be deciding something or thinking about something. ये आर्गुमेंट कई बार हमने देखा है, अलग अलग इंटरनेशनल फोरम्स पे भी देखा है कि जो डेवलपिंग कंट्रीज़ हैं, दोज हु आर पार्ट ऑफ द ग्लोबल साउथ, दे आर टोल्ड कि अब आप पोल्यूशन कम कीजिए, आप इसके बारे में ज़रा सोचिए, ध्यान दीजिए. एंड दिस इज बीइंग सेड बाय कंट्रीज हु हैव ऑलरेडी हैड देयर फेयर शेयर ऑफ पोल्यूशन, हैव प्रोग्रेस्ड, and they should be very happy about the progress they've made. But the argument is that it's a bit rich on their part to suggest to the developing world that you contain your growth, whereas, you know, we have had our share. How do you look at this?
No, if I were not in this distinguished gathering, I would give you some inner thoughts, but I'll spare you those now. You see, it's very easy that you can go around polluting the world and then you provide prescriptions to the others. माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी की उनका दायित्व संभालने से पहले थोड़ा हमारी पॉलिसी में भी कंफ्यूजन था. और मुझे याद है जब डॉक्टर साहब प्रधानमंत्री थे तो मैं आई वाज अ सीनियर सिविल सर्वेंट, तो बहुत बार क्लाइमेट चेंज कॉन्टेक्स्ट में ये सवाल उठाया जाता था कि वेयर इज इंडिया, व्हाट इज इंडियाज पोजीशन. सो आई रिमेंबर one of us cheekily saying, sir, are we part of the problem or are we part of the solution? So obviously Dr. Saab, very measured in his words, wouldn't say it. So one of us quipped there saying, if you want to be part of the problem, तो आप ना एक negotiator का नाम दे, उनको आगे कर दो. अगर if you want to be part of the solution, तो किस दूसरे को कर दो. But this kind of zigzagging went on till I think COP21. जब COP21 की मीटिंग पेरिस में हुई थी, I think our Prime Minister took a decisive step and a very bold step. He said, ये mutual recrimination तो चलता रहेगा कि ये पोल्यूशन कर रहे हैं, ये कर रहे हैं, पोल्यूशन ये कर रहे हैं। अरे भाई, तो कोई आपसे पूछेगा आप भी तो पोल्यूशन कर रहे हैं, कहते नहीं पर मेरी पर कैपिटा एमिशन जो है इनसे 1/10 है। इज दैट एन आर्ग्यूमेंट फॉर यू टू गो ऑन थिंग? सो आई थिंक द पीएम टुक अ very mature, bold step, saying we can go on talking about common but differentiated responsibility. We can go on reminding them that they are the polluters. But meanwhile, we've got to take action. And he took the action. He said, we will take action on our own because we have to save our own. I mean, the state of the country which you hand to your children or the next generation cannot be progressively getting worse from what you inherited. So he took that decision. And even on that 2070 जो commitment थी net zero की, मुझे याद है माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी, before he took off from Delhi, there was talk. He said, नहीं, India can't do this. ये US envoy हैं, क्या नाम है उनका, जो पुराने जॉन कैरी, उसके पहले एल गोर भी आए थे, मुझे याद है, तो बातचीत हो रही थी, वो सब कह रहे थे इन इंडिया शुड डू समथिंग. I don't know what the bureaucracy's advice to the Prime Minister was, but I think somewhere in the flight between wherever he was taking off from and Glasgow, PM made up his mind that he will, and he announced in net zero. उससे क्या इफेक्ट हुआ? हमारी जो ऑयल कंपनीज हैं, I don't think they are here today, उनसे पूछा जाए, कोई कहती है मेरी 2035 net zero commitment है, कोई कहता है 2040 है. You see, once the boss gives you the target, and once he says karna hai, then it happens. And then we've got all kinds of other commitments, 2030 tak ye karna hai, itna percentage wo karna hai, etc. So this is now part of what I call an active part of our consciousness. And this is now going to bind us. So whether it is biofuels, compressed biogas, CNG, green hydrogen, how green is green? I'll tell you very frankly. I don't get that excited about electric vehicles because my point is if the grid is not green yet, I'm glad an electric vehicle emits less pollution than, let's say, a normal other vehicle.
Yeah, but how are you making electricity?
No, basically, this is, I'm coming. So the whole grid is changing. So a lot of people will tell you, I mean, I've had global experts come and tell me, you know, Minister, you should, we are very impressed with your green hydrogen, but don't make it exclusively green because there is a blue stage there where it is much better than now, if not totally green. So I think the Indian story is a sui generis one. It's unique because the kind of challenges you've got to feed. And as you keep reminding me, the people who are most vulnerable, we've got to get to them. We have to make sure they are moving, they have moved. By the way, as part of that, we also have an active discourage the use of kerosene policy. And discourage the use of kerosene means physically we are now bringing it, we are reducing it. I get a lot of flack from some of the states which want higher kerosene quotas for a variety of reasons. But it's moving. Even in Varanasi, we converted all the kerosene-powered boats into CNG boats during the, I think, India Energy Week or thereabouts, yeah.
Ambassador Puri, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Thank you.